Okay, so in this video we're going to start taking a look at the actual hardware that we need to set up a computer network. So in order to form a network, all the devices on that network need to be connected together somehow. Now this can be wired or wireless, but you do always need some hardware to connect. So inside all of the devices that we want to connect to a network, we need to have something called a network interface controller, or a NIC for short. Now, this is going to be found inside all the devices as we've said, but it's what actually allows the device to connect to a network. It used to be on a separate card as shown in the picture, however now they're mostly inbuilt onto the motherboard of the device. You can get wired or wireless network interface controllers. If it's a wired network interface controller, that would be where the Ethernet cable connects straight into the port. So on a local area network, we need something called a switch, which allows us to connect multiple devices. Now these devices, as shown in the image at the bottom, could connect a number of different devices to the network, and they receive data which we call frames. So this data in the frame is then transmitted to another device on the network. So the best example of this is, say you had one classroom full of 30 computers. All 30 computers could connect to one switch or maybe a couple of different switches within what you call a hub room inside the building, and all of these switches together can then pass the data onto the server. The switches make sure that the packets and the frames of data get to the right device. So for example, every single device has got its own MAC address. That allows the network to know for sure, for 100% sure, which device is the correct one, and then it makes sure that it sends it to that one. So a router is probably one of the pieces of equipment that you are most familiar with. I'd say most people in their households now have got a hub or a super hub, which basically contains a router. And most of you will have touched this with your own hands to get the little code off the back to put into your mobile phones or your games consoles. So the router is what is responsible for the transmission of the data between networks. It has a really crucial role, which is to direct the packets to their correct destination. So you have data incoming into your network, and the router makes sure that that information goes to the correct device. Routers are used in homes and offices to connect your local area network to the internet. It basically takes your internal connection to the outside world. Okay, so for a wired network, we need to look at three different types of cable: Ethernet cable, a coaxial cable, and fiber optic. So an Ethernet cable is sometimes known as a Cat5e or a Cat6 cable. Now Ethernet cables are usually used to connect devices in a local area network. The most common type that you'll have seen would probably be connected into the back of your computer in school, or you might have used it for a faster connection on your games console at home. So the most common type is a Cat5e and a Cat6. They're basically a load of twisted wires inside. So you have 4 pairs of copper wires and they're twisted together. The reason why they're twisted together is to prevent internal interference between your connections. A coaxial cable used to be one of the most common wires that you would see in your daily life. They were used for TV aerials. Now they're basically made from a single copper wire which is surrounded by a plastic layer of insulation. This then has like a metallic mesh which provides the shielding from outside interference. This was particularly useful considering TV aerials often went right the way up the side of your house or the front of your house, and they were travelling over long distances. The next cable is a fiber optic cable. These are used by internet service providers to connect local area networks together. They transmit the data in light format. They're extremely high performance because they have got no interference between other cabling. These can be used over very long distances. They don't lose any signal quality no matter how long the distance goes. The downside is that they're extremely expensive, which is why the internet service providers are the only ones who can really afford to use them. Now, for a wireless network, one of the most useful pieces of hardware is a wireless access point. Wireless access points basically use radio waves to transmit data. Devices need wireless capability, so in other words, you need to have Wi-Fi on your phone or tablet or computer to connect. To set up a wireless network, you're going to need these wireless access points. It's basically a switch, but a wireless version of it that allows you to connect to the devices. Now, in a school or a large office building, you probably have multiple wireless access points scattered around the school so that you can connect to them from various locations. So in order to connect to these wireless access points, as I mentioned before, your devices need to have some sort of Wi-Fi capability. Now, modern devices often have these inbuilt, like mobile phones and tablets. However, if you've got something like a television or maybe an old computer, it might not have wireless capability, so we can use this device called a wireless dongle. Now, this can just be plugged into like a USB port, and it essentially gives you wireless network capability. So keep mentioning Wi-Fi all the way through this video. You might be wondering, what exactly is Wi-Fi? Well, it's the standard for wireless networks. That would be what the definition is. Now, it uses two different radio frequency bands, 2.4 and 5 GHz. On a lot of the modern super hubs, say from Virgin Media for example, you can actually choose which one you want to connect to, which means that you can have multiple devices that might not interfere with each other. Now, these two radio frequencies, 2.4 and 5 GHz, are basically split into numbered channels that cover a small range. The worst thing about Wi-Fi is that it's affected by interference. So any sort of obstacles, or when you've got multiple devices all connected together, that can affect the performance of your wireless network. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you found it helpful. Please press like and subscribe. Thank you.